Welcome back, everybody. So this is the video we've been kind of working on a little bit. It's not going to be quite like what you're used to seeing on here. This one is kind of our take on HHN and our tier list of the houses. Fancy times. Anyway, okay. Something to point out at HHN. We've been, I don't know, several times at this point. And HHN, your experience can differ on the day, the hour, the minute. If you go through and they're in the middle of shift change, it'll be a completely different experience than if you go through and everyone's just right on cue and you're getting, just hammered by all the scare actors. Now, we did not get to go on the same night, so keep that in mind. I went I believe, second Sunday of the event, and she went on the third Sunday, which was last night. I made it through all the houses.
I did not. And
Nope.
I'm sad.
Which houses did you miss?
I missed Last of Us, Chucky, and Yeti.
Okay. So, something else I would like to point out, since we are pretty well versed in HHN at this point, if you would like to kind of see some different videos on like what to expect, like little tips and tricks, stuff like that, just let us know in the comments down below. And one last thing before we get started, why don't you go ahead and make friends with that little subscribe button down the corner. So, do we want to start? Probably not start at number 1. You want to start at number 10, or you just want to pick one and we say where we placed it?
I mean, you can start at 10.
Well, okay. Now, like I said, I got through all of the houses. That's something I do want to cover just a little bit before we start talking about the individual houses. What was your overall take on HHN this year? Because mine might be a hot take.
Yeah. So I heard a lot of people were complaining about specific houses not being great. Overall, they didn't feel like it was as good as previous years. I had fun, but I was also with a good group of people, which I have found, regardless of how the houses are, will always make a great time.
Oh, so. And I went solo, so
yeah.
There's also that to think about. This HHN, in my opinion, so, I guess hate me if you've got to. This could be a hot take. It's pretty lackluster, really, when I went. Lots and lots of reused assets, which they normally do, because they've only got 8 months to build this stuff again. So I'm used to seeing reused assets, but there are very few new set pieces that I've noticed, with the exception of like one house. One house is pretty much all new set pieces. To the point this year, even a lot of the scare zone, the scare actors in the scare zones were reusing masks and costumes and stuff like from the previous year, not even recolored or anything.
I will say that the scare zones seemed very lackluster this year, but I also basically kind of rushed through those. I did not understand why you would have the chainsaw scare actors in with the Zodiac people. That confused me.
Oh, I didn't see Chainsaw the first night or the Megans, but one of the houses had Chainsaw in it for me.
Yeah.
So, okay. Where do we want to start? I guess we'll go ahead and start with my number 10.
Mm-hmm. 10 being the worst.
Yeah, 10 being the worst. 10 is the one, like, if you're cut for time, my opinion, with this visit, you can skip it. Now, if I go in the future, it might change. It might bump up some. A perfect example of this was last year. I think it was called Bugs Alive, the Bugs House.
Mm-hmm.
The more I went, the more that one just kept bumping up till it became probably my number 2 house last year.
That was
and
really
it started
good.
off at like number 10. So it can, change. And Universal does make little tweaks to everything as the season goes on. So my number 10, aka the one that I enjoyed the least this time, The Darkest Deal. That is basically the devil went down to Georgia as a scare house.
Mm-hmm.
It's the stereotypical musician wants to make it, sells his soul to the devil, and you progress through that. Now, there was a couple cool set pieces, like the contract at the very beginning. That was neat. Other than that, it was mainly just 2 houses left from last year that they just kind of smushed together. A lot of reused assets from the Weekend house last year.
Yes, there were quite a few reused set pieces in that one.
I believe the year before they had the one about the kids that got lost in the crypt like in the graveyard.
Oh, graveyard games?
Yeah, graveyard games. A lot of that was used over. Yeah, because you spend a good chunk of the time walking through crypts in a graveyard in that one.
I was trying to think of how much was reused.
Most of the house.
I mean, yeah, but with their non-IP houses, that's what they tend to do also. Yeah. So, but...
Like I said, it's nothing, and this could be something I go next time, and maybe it starts jumping up. I don't know. Just this last time, just I
already know our lists are going to be very different.
And something fun about that one is when I got through it last time, about 5 people behind me, they had to shut the house down because they were having something wasn't working right in it. So maybe that led to me placing it further down. I don't know. So my number 9. Oh man, this might be full of hot takes. I have a feeling I can already feel people going, "You're wrong."
No, we'll see. Because
number 9,
the internet is fired up about one house, and not in a good way.
Chucky Ultimate Kill Count.
Yeah, a lot of people.
You can basically skip that house too. That almost came in at number 10.
I was told the premise of that, and after I was told the premise of it, I wanted to go through it, but I just didn't have time, which made me sad.
And it is one house. Usually they'll sneak in red buttons in the house. If you find me, you push them and something happens. So I'm going to tell you where the red button's at if you want to push it. If not, skip forward a little bit. I'll do this when you can listen again. It's at the Christmas scene with the house, the tree. There's a red button in there you can pop, and it triggers a different take on that scene. So... All right, spoilers gone.
Fun. Yeah, no, just for the backstory, if you want to go through the house with a little bit of knowledge, because I've heard a lot of people, once they learned about what the story is, they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Now, to be fair, the story is in the queue via video, so you just watch the screens.
Well, how many people pay attention to that?
Almost everybody when I went.
Oh, well, then you had a different crowd, because most people are drunk during HHN. Anyway, so the whole premise of it is that Universal Studios has done a Chucky house, but Chucky himself is not happy with the way that it has been set up, so he's going through the house, killing all the scare actors and patrons.
Yeah, if you watch the video, they brought him in wanting to dedicate this house to him, but they told him he couldn't kill anybody. Then he saw how crappy the house was and decided he was going to start killing people.
Yeah.
So, there you go. Those are his words.
It's a fun premise. I just didn't get to go.
Didn't work. And to be fair, that's another hot take.
No, a lot of people
I've
are
never
hating
seen
on that house, sadly.
The point of the Chucky movies. It's a little doll. Hit it with a baseball bat.
It's Ray's favorite movies growing up.
I know there's lots of people that love those movies, and that's fine. I've got crappy movies that I love too. But it's just one that never made sense in my mind ever. I'm like, it's a doll. If Teddy Ruxpin was coming after me with the knife, I'd bop it with a baseball bat or something. There's a big size difference there. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's been getting a lot of hate towards the scare actors, which
is dumb. Don't do that.
Be better. Be better than that. You can not like the house. You can even hate the house, but don't hate on the scare actors. They are doing their darndest to have a good time for you all.
Don't hate on any actor, period, just because you don't like the character. It's not their fault. If you want to hate on somebody, hate on the director. They're the ones that told them how to act.
But still, that's
still dumb. But,
don't go real far with it.
No,
you can hate something, just no death threats. Come on.
This is dumb, this is weak character, whatever. But yeah, death threats, not cool. So my number 7 and 8. Actually changed them. I had them written down originally one way, and then I flipped them. So honestly, either one of these could be 8 that night. Either one of them could be 7. So I'll go with my number 8, The Exorcist Believer.
Okay.
Now, if you like the Exorcist movies, it's going to be a lot higher up on the list. It was basically like, hey, remember this from the films? Remember this from the films? Remember that from the films?
I'm pretty sure it's just that one movie.
Well, it's the stereotypical, you got the pentagrams and all this stuff. A lot of it was reused from the Halloween House last year. Almost the entirety of it was reused from Halloween House last year. A little bit of black foam.
Yes.
And it was okay, but there wasn't really a lot of scare. When I went through, there were minimal scare actors, so maybe I hit it during a shift change. Don't know. But it was okay, but well, it is what it is. This is number 8.
Yeah.
Oh, you start at 7.
Yeah.
And my number 7, and this one will be a hot take because a lot of people love this house. It was very underwhelming when I went through it. Dr. Oddfellow's Twisted Origins.
Yeah, a lot of people like that one.
Oh, I know. I know a lot of people like it. It's in the same spot we went last year where the Bugs house was at.
Mm-hmm. They have it all done up like a circus tent.
It was the longest line I waited in for that night. I don't know if I just had bad timing going through it. I don't know if maybe it was a shift change. Wasn't a lot of scare actors. Most of the assets are reused from the Icon house a couple years back.
Mm-hmm. Especially the stage at the end. The
stage at the end, very much so. No, I like the character of Dr. Oddfellow. I'm like, ooh, really evil Facilier.
Yes.
But the house itself, when I went through it, was very underwhelming. Now, keep in mind, this is one of those things, if I go back and everything's popping, probably hop up some, but as of that night, pretty big letdown.
Are you ready for my number 7?
Go ahead.
Dragons. Dueling Dragons was such a letdown.
Well, to be fair, some of this could be because you were amped and you're like, I want this and that because she's a big Dragons
I just wanted to. Because it's based off of the old ride. It started off all right. Like you go in and it looks really neat, but the character designs and execution of the dragons, that was rough.
High school rendition of Game of Thrones?
No, that was...
Come on, the
chess
ice
piece.
Dragon didn't look somewhat like the White Walkers? Is that what they're called? I've never seen an episode.
Yeah, something like that. I didn't watch enough of it, but I don't want to.
Man, I'm full of hot takes. I can hear people screaming right now. You've never seen an episode? Nope.
It's not worth it.
Oh my god, this is going to have to label this one hot takes. We're either going to get a lot of subscribers or lose a lot of subscribers for this one.
What got me the worst, there are some cool set pieces in that one, but the costume designs, I will say though, there was a good scare because they did the whole distraction, get you on this side, with a girl in front of me literally dropped to the floor because she got so scared, which is always fun to watch. But I could not get over the chest pieces that they were wearing. They needed a diffuser or something over them so you couldn't see how they were just pixels.
It seemed like back when they did, what was it, Depths of Fear? Like with the fish heads and stuff. How that one felt very rushed. This one felt very rushed. And it shouldn't have been because they were advertising this one a long time ago.
Yeah, this one made me very sad.
I guess I'll talk about this. That way when I get to it, we don't have to spend a lot of time talking about it. So it's in where the Pixie, the Tooth Fairy house was.
Tooth Fairy, yes.
And it still had, some of the, I don't know if this is even in frame, but when you did the Tooth Fairy one, you had like
the
banners hanging, kind of telling you the story. Same thing.
That was something else. Is like you could hear the beginning of the story as Merlin's telling you it,
and then nothing else.
Yeah, you can't hear anything else.
It's not even Merlin, is it?
Yes, it is.
Oh, see, I could never hear who it was. So.
Yeah, he said, "I'm Merlin, and the Lady of the Lake seduced me and turned me into a wise old tree." And then you go into the tree, and then you can't hear anything else.
That was supposed to be a tree?
Yes.
Oh, well, maybe that just doesn't have some of the coolest set pieces. This is the one I was talking about, had more original set pieces than the other one.
It was a wise old oak, is what he was supposed to be.
So it was the Great Deku Tree.
Yeah.
I thought it was Castle Grayskull.
No.
Walked around the corner, looked very much like Castle Grayskull, because when I did it, it was all gray. Like, you couldn't tell it was supposed to be a tree.
Yeah. No, it's a tree.
And then right past that, they had some cool effects, like with LEDs popping.
The set pieces,
bang,
like...
bang, bang, and they had dragons.
The castle with the dragons on it, that was neat. But overall, just weak. And there was also very few scare actors in that one.
When I went through, it was very few. But I did that one first, and then immediately went right back and did it again, because you get 85-90% of the way through it. It's choose thy fate, and you can go either right or left. You can go fire or ice.
I did fire because everybody else in the group had already done ice. And they said it was very similar. I
did fire, and there was a neat costume, and that was it. So then I went right back through, did ice, and there was nobody. And I actually kind of stopped because that's how empty the house was. I stopped at the end and turned around, and then I saw somebody come out carrying the other guy's head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one was sad. Made me sad. So anyway, that's my
We'll
7.
talk about that later.
What's your 7?
We already did that, Dr. Oddfellow.
All right. So then you
My
want to
number
do
6.
Yeah.
This is one. I think this is going to be the Bugs house for this year. I think this is going to be the one where it's going to keep getting better the more times you go through it.
Yeah.
Because I've heard a lot of people talk online about how awesome it was, and you can see the potential. When I went through it, though, it was not firing on all cylinders. And that would be Blood Moon Dark Offerings.
Okay.
It's going along with the Blood Moon. They always have a Blood Moon something. This year, it's this Dark Offerings one. It's basically like Puritan America back in like the settlement days, and they're worshiping a demon of some sort. And you're there on the Blood Moon. And I'm laughing the whole time as I'm seeing the Blood Moon, like the damn bokoblins are coming back.
The Blood Moon effect was really nice.
Yeah, and you can see it
enjoyed
throughout the house. Kind of like last year with the Wolfman one. If you looked up, you could see the moon in most of the places.
Yeah.
Something else. Tip for this year. I meant to cover this at the beginning, forgot. Look up this year. They did a good job of extending the houses vertically.
Yes.
If you don't look up, you're going to miss stuff.
Yeah. There are 2 areas in this that are more open space as far as like the plan. Huh?
The maple?
Well, like the village area, and then you turn the corner, and then you can see the tower, and there's somebody up there like watching you. I did wave at him.
There was nobody watching the tower when I went through.
Yeah, well, there was somebody up in the tower when I went through, and I went, hi, because I'm an idiot, and that's what I do. I just try to get some reaction out of the scare actors. I want them to have fun too, you know, and I don't get scared, so gotta do something for them. But I was like, hi, and he just barely went. I'm like,
me and the group
yeah,
in front
I got
of me
you.
in one of the houses kind of made friends with one of the scare actors because we were stuck there for a good 4 to 5 minutes.
What?
I don't know if they were shift changing in front or if somebody... When I went, people were being dumb and drinking too much alcohol and not drinking enough water, and it was very, very hot. So some people were past... There's a lot of EMTs checking people's blood pressure.
Thankfully, people were drinking water yesterday because it was very hot and very humid last night, and whew, man, we felt it. But yeah, some people got cranky while we were waiting in line for our first house because it was a very long wait.
I was getting cranky with myself in that first house because that sun was hot when I went.
We weren't even in the sun and it was hot.
Oh no, I was sitting there going, I'm an idiot, didn't bring an umbrella. I need to get one of those little fans that clips on here and it just shoots up. Oh, it was miserable. Anyway.
So that's your 6.
That's my number 6. Like I said, I think this one will be like the Bug House last year, just kind of progressively start getting better and better and better.
My number 6 is The Exorcist.
Okay, so it's like right at the same spot then.
Yeah. I mean, the movies don't interest me, and yeah, a lot of reused set pieces. There was one scene that was like, all right, that's interesting. It's when they're like trying to do the exorcism on the twins, I'm assuming. You've never seen the movie. Probably won't because
I've watched the original Exorcist and was bored out of my mind. So
I've seen the
hot takes.
I've seen the original and that's it. So
I was so bored with the original that I gave it to my college roommate at the time because his girlfriend loved The Exorcist and didn't have it on DVD. That's how old I am. Didn't have it on DVD, so I'm like, take it. This is boring. Give it to her. I don't care.
But yeah, Exorcist was number 6 for me.
Now, my 4 and 5 were one of those ones where I kind of flip-flopped. So either one of these could have been 4, then my next one could have been 5, vice versa.
I'm the same way. My 4 and 5 are... I couldn't decide.
Based on just the set pieces alone, that's why I ranked one a little higher than the other. So my number 5, and this one had the best joke scare in the entire thing, was Yeti Campground Kills. There is a scare... Ooh, cover that. You'll be able to see. There's a scare... in the outhouse version, or the outhouse area. Mwah. Best scare. I was laughing because it got somebody. It came up and they, like when Slimer clonked me in the head a couple times, they went too far so they got somebody's ass with it. And they jumped. They jumped and screamed and it was perfect because of what it was, and I don't want to spoil the scare for anybody. Just when you're in the outhouse, yeah. Other than that, they basically took the Winter Yeti one they did a few years back and just basically made it a North American forest. And they, it wasn't white Yetis, it was brown Yetis this time.
So that was a Bigfoot.
It was Bigfoot, yeah. It wasn't Yetis, it was Bigfoot.
Sasquatch.
It was, middle of like spring, summer, fall, somewhere in there. Everything was green.
I'm glad I didn't really go through that one. That one had like the longest wait last night.
And it shouldn't. I think I waited 15 minutes and that was about right.
Yeah. Like they all had really long waits last night for whatever reason. And then the highest that any of them got was Yeti at like almost 2 hours. It was ridiculous.
When I went Stranger Things, it was over 3 hours at one point.
Stranger Things never got over
I waited
an hour
45
and a half.
for it.
So that was the first house we went through. And we waited. So we may have waited that long. But we did stay and scream, so I don't know if you count.
Just pre-waiting is all you're doing. Mm-hmm. Basically virtual queue, but you have to be in the virtual queue. Mm-hmm. That's something else I meant to cover at the beginning. Do stay and scream. Don't wait to get into the park at 6:30. Stay and scream. They'll start pushing you through houses at 5:15. Mm-hmm. And you can get through 3, 4, 5 houses before anybody else gets in the park.
If you're lucky. We did not get through.
Well, you don't wait in Stranger Things. You wait in a different line.
Well, I thought it was just going to keep going up and up and up. Silly me.
Well, no, because everybody rushes to that one first, so it spikes real hard, and then it kind of does this the rest of the night.
Last of Us was the one that everybody... It was probably split between the two.
Last of Us had almost a 3-hour wait when I went also. And I got lucky because they shut it down for like 30 minutes, and I came out of Darkest Offering right when they were opening it up, so I was like, whoa. I waited.
Is it Darkest Offering or is it Darkest Deal?
Sorry, Darkest Deal.
Okay.
Darkest Deal. I got Blood Moon Offering thing in my mind. I came out and was like, oops. So I waited less than 25 minutes to go through it. I got lucky on a few things.
Yeah, obviously.
I still had 2 hours left too in the night.
So...
So number 5.
Yeah. So my 5... So my 4 and 5 are two. I can't really decide which one's better than the other. So I'm just going to say them both because they've already been listed anyway. Blood Moon and Oddfellows are between 4 and 5 for me. And I can't decide which. Mostly because Oddfellows had a lot of scare actors that were willing to, play, for lack of a better term. They were really into their roles, which was great. But the overall premise was kind of like, yeah, okay, clowns.
So if you take out the fact that I had the 3 extra houses, we're basically putting this at the same level.
Yeah.
Those two are basically the same level.
I don't find clowns scary.
And I will say with Yeti, when I went through it, it was firing on all cylinders, so I don't think it's going to get any better than what it already was. Like, I had them all jumping out right in front of me. Unfortunately, I don't think that's one that's going to get better.
I can see that.
Okay, so my number 4, since you did that.
Yeah.
Dueling Dragons, Choose Thy Fate. I was really hoping for this to be better than it was. It's another one. I don't really know if it's going to get any better.
I don't think so.
And this is one. Now, when I went through, the scare actors were pretty sparse, but maybe that is one where they're pretty sparse. I don't know.
They were sparse when we went through.
They made a big deal out of Choosing Thy Fate, which...
is maybe 10 paces.
That should have been maybe halfway through instead of 90% of the way through, which I understand why you can't, space and everything. But I ranked it higher based solely on the set pieces, the Castle Grayskull.
No, it's Dream.
The dragons, they weren't big enough, but the dragons were neat. They were 3/4 scale of what used to be at the entrance of Dueling Dragons, roughly. Their heads.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
The bodies are pushed back, so it was basically they made the neck and the head, and that was about it.
Yeah, you could see a part of a wing cresting over and they mirrored them.
Yeah, they weren't facing each other to fight. They were facing away.
No, they weren't. They were facing.
Okay.
They were facing towards each other. It was just this is very much you just mirrored the piece, which is fine. I understand. You got to cut corners to cut cost and time.
And this was very much. I'll call it the fan service house. You like the roller coaster? Mm-hmm. Here you go. But they didn't execute very good. No. Oh, you should have seen all the shirts I saw people wearing the Choose Thy Fate shirts.
Oh, yeah.
I'm I'm glad I didn't buy one. This is kind of disappointing.
I bought the pin, but I had to.
A $15 pin is a lot cheaper than a $48 t-shirt.
Yeah, that was the other reason.
I'll wait till towards the end of the season and probably get it for like $20.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It was very popular despite... And like everybody I was running into were like, yeah, I thought Dragon's House is pretty weak this year.
Yeah.
Okay,
so my number 3.
Yeah.
Almost number 2. I thought real hard about putting it in number 2. This is one I do think could get a little better. I'll go over why it was 3 instead of 2. But Universal Monsters Unmasked. It was better than I was expecting it was going to be for the group of monsters they chose. Because it's Quasimodo, Invisible Man, Phantom of the Opera,
Jekyll and Hyde.
And Jekyll and Hyde. Some of them aren't hardly in there at all. It's mainly Phantom of the Opera.
Yes.
So, forewarning you on that one.
Yes.
Had some nice set pieces. Did a good job telling the story.
It rains on you when you first walk in.
Yes, it does. It's basically the cold house this year. It's the one that was a little colder when I went than the other houses.
It wasn't for us. I'm trying to think of which one was the coldest for us. Don't know. I don't remember now.
The one thing I did not care for, and this is the house that we got stuck in for like 4 or 5 minutes. So we made friends with the... Right as Jekyll will come out, or Hyde, I guess technically at that point, comes out and there's a police officer that's like... It was that police officer that just kept looping. So he'd come out, we'd chit-chat, he'd go back in. Come out, he'd do something like a funny little dance, then go back in.
Oh, I love it when they have fun.
And then we're like, bye. He's like, mwah. My biggest complaint, though, is there's a lot of heavy stuff that was right in front of you that was kind of hard to push through. Because you really had to get in there and push it to the
plastic
side.
things that they used to separate the areas. Yeah, for whatever reason, they had some really heavy ones in that one.
Well, and this has full-on, like, opera drapes, too.
That
They're
too.
Just heavy. You know, those big velvet, and you're like, get out of the way.
They didn't have those. Or, well, they had them pulled back.
The Blood Moon one either had real cowhide or fake cowhide.
Yes.
So if you're, vegan or whatever, animal thing, that's a trigger for you. Don't go through that house. But I think they did a very good job because I was honestly.
You want to know what's sad?
I was expecting that house to be further down on the list because I
did too.
The other monster houses have been so strong the past few years.
They
have the icon,
one.
like the icon monsters, like Frankenstein's monster
creature,
and Wolfman and Bride and Dracula and the Mummy.
Man.
And well, that was one when they had them all, so that doesn't.
I know
count.
that one was so good.
The spot with Quasimodo was fun. This is another one. Look up. You gotta look. Was he not there?
No. Yeah, I was so sad. I was so sad.
That was the part with the bell tower, the obvious choice, because the bell tower is one of those things they reuse every year, so it's always find the bell tower. Anyway, so a little spoiler here. I'll do this again if you don't want to know the spoiler. Yeah, it's a good. The bell tower is 13 feet in the air, 15 feet in the air somewhere, probably just below 20.
I mean, like where they stand, it's probably only 10.
It's a little higher than 10, I think.
Maybe, but not.
But anyway, Quasimodo's up there and they've got him strapped and he kind of lunges out at you and then gets pulled back up like a bungee cord.
The entire, we all got into that section and every single person went, no, because he wasn't there. I was so sad.
The other thing I was expecting more Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and he was barely in it at all.
That was a little surprising.
And I don't even remember seeing, funny joke, I don't even remember seeing the Invisible Man at all.
See, he was the second most in mine, and he was very, all of the scare actors that were playing him were very into their roles and very in your face. So if you don't like in your face,
when I went through...
That was another one. I think it was... I think it's... Oh, now I don't remember which house it's in.
Well, anyway, when I went through, I would say Phantom of the Opera was probably 60 to 65% of the monsters that were in that one.
Yes. Yeah, he's the majority by far.
Yeah, so... me personally, I would have liked to see more Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, Quasimodo more than once.
Yeah, I think that's all we saw because he wasn't on the tower.
I did enjoy when you walked first in, you're kind of going down into the sewers,
That
we
was
had
cool.
the policeman up there like, get out of here, go do this.
I
We've got
laughed
this
though
and that.
because he's talking with, I guess, the Phantom. I wasn't sure who he was like.
When I
yelling
went through,
at.
he was talking to us.
Oh no, there was a call and response when we went through.
And we didn't have a call and response.
The officer was like, "Where are you? We'll get you." And then somebody, whomever it's supposed to be, I don't know if it's supposed to be Jekyll and Hyde or the Phantom, is like, "Oh, you'll never catch me." And as that was the exact line, and I couldn't contain myself. Like, you'll never catch me. I'm the gingerbread man.
No.
I couldn't help myself.
We didn't have a call and response with mine, but if it's
Weird.
if the police officer further down is supposed to be the same police officer, then it would make sense for it to be Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde that's talking to him.
I kind of thought it was Hyde just because Hyde was more roaming in the stories, because Phantom is in his opera house the whole time. Or underneath it.
I was a little disappointed in the Hyde costume that I got to see the one of, because it was just one of the Yeti costumes that they modified a little bit through here, and they put like fluorescent green on its teeth.
Ray thought it was a werewolf.
It may have been the werewolf from last year, I don't know.
Yeah, but it is Hyde, but yeah, it doesn't look like your typical Hyde.
Hyde's supposed to kind of be like the Incredible Hulk type figure, and this was very much nothing like that at all, period.
It was a different take. I didn't mind it, but I could also see where they're like, oh, that's from,
It also would have
whatever.
been less noticeable if it had been in a darker spot. It was a very well-lit area where he was at when I went through.
Yes. That was also a complaint I had about, thank you for reminding me, The Exorcist. It was very bright in areas it should not have been. Like, anytime there is a demon, you could see the full get up, and it took me out of it.
And that was every house this year. Usually it's kind of hard to see where you're going in a lot of these houses. You have to kind of shuffle. There's maybe like one house that was actually kind of dark. The rest are all fairly well lit.
Yeah, overall they are lighter than what
I'm used to. Mm-hmm. I'll put it that way.
I still haven't done my 3, so because we were just talking about Universal Monsters for a while, as I do. No, my number 3 is actually Stranger Things. There just weren't. It was our first house, which a mistake, because I don't think everybody was in there yet. There was a lot of missing scare actors, and they still had quite a few in there. There was a lot of empty space in that one too.
I can tell you, if you do stay in Scream and you do one of the big houses like that, you will be missing scare actors. When I did it last year for Halloween, on Halloween, because it's the one that my friend and his kid wanted to go through, it was missing 60% of the Mike Myers. Like, they just weren't there. And I'm like, there should be one here, and I'm looking, and there's nothing there. Okay, well, there's one over here. Yeah, they're not there.
I liked the stage. Everybody loved the stage.
For
the metal
Stranger
concert. Yeah, for Stranger Things. That was the best part of that whole thing.
And the Stranger Things houses, and maybe even a lot of the IP ones, just as a quick note, they're not really set up as a haunted house. They're almost more of like a fun house.
Yeah, I mean, if you find Vecna and that whole thing scary, because it is season 4.
4, yes.
I had to think of what season.
Part 1 and 2, or whatever they called it.
Yes,
or 4 and 4.5.
It's all of season 4, and that's all it is season 4. So if you're expecting, them to pull from the other seasons, it's not. It is literally just season 4.
I have a feeling we'll probably get, just as a tangent here, I have a feeling we'll probably get 2 more Stranger Things houses. I think we'll get season 5. Watch which finger I put down. And then I think we'll probably get it, maybe not the year following 5, maybe the year after, but I think we will get all of a Stranger Things house where you just go through it.
Depends on how popular it is after this last season, I think.
It also depends on what contract they signed.
That too. Yeah, Stranger Things, there's a lot of Eddie, so if you like Eddie.
Yep. Also, another house to look up.
Yes. Yeah, that was a cool scene.
If you don't, you're going to miss one of the coolest chunks in all of the houses this year.
And one of the Eddies was really getting into his role too, which was great.
A lot of the Eddies actually looked and sounded pretty much like him, and so did the Dustins.
There was only one for us. One Dusty.
I think we had 2.
One Dusty, one Steve, and one Robin. My 3 faves, and there's just...
We had one Robin.
One of each.
I don't remember Steve at all. He was probably there, though.
You like blow past... He's the one that's in with the not real Dusty.
I'm trying to think here.
In the trailer.
No, No, when I went through that one, it was Eddie. It was an Eddie. It was not a Steve.
Oh, weird.
And then I think we had the jerk basketball captain in one of the spots. I can never.
He was in that
name,
for us,
so.
and then you see him dead, which I was like, yay.
Yeah, like you basically turn the corner and he's dead.
Yay.
Anyway,
best part of the whole season. Yeah, so that was my 3. My 1 and 2 are also, I couldn't decide.
it's full indecisions today.
It was tough, and I'll tell you why, but go ahead.
My number 2, and this is based more, this was almost number 3. I gave it number 2, and I do have enough reasons why this, honestly going through it, I probably should have flipped Monsters in this one. But I gave it number 2 based kind of on the prosthetics alone, and that's The Last of Us. Now, keep in mind, this does follow the video game, and not these at HBO or Showtime. Whatever the show is on, it's not the show, it's the video game. The first video game, not the second video game. The clickers. The prosthetics were real neat on those. This is another one where there's some stuff happening up top.
Were there giraffes?
My big complaint with it, and this is complaints other people had in line that went through the house before, so I heard it, and I always try my best to make sure I don't get influenced by some of that, but the big complaint I heard in line was they cast a lot of like 20-year-olds to be playing a somewhere between 40 to 50-year-old man. And they didn't do a very good job on the makeup or prosthetics. And when you went in and you see the first, oh gosh, why can't I think of the guy's name? Joel, thank you. When you see the first Joel, it's like, that's what they were talking about. Because it's another one of those houses that's not very dark. Now, if it was darker, you probably wouldn't notice it as much. But because it was lighter, I'm just like, yeah, you're like 20, bud. And the girl you have is also like 20. Why are we the same age? But it's just little stuff like that. I think I was missing a couple Joels and Ellies. Is it Ellie, right? If I remember right. Because I think I saw her once or twice, and I saw Joel, I think, only the one time. That was like right at the beginning. No, maybe twice. Anyway, I saw them both maybe once or twice. To be fair, I wasn't going through the house to look at them anyway. I wanted to see the clickers and the zombies.
How many clickers were there versus like zombies?
Well,
like unturned. I know they're all clickers. It's just various stages.
Variations, yeah. Now, there wasn't very many that just had a little bit. There was a lot of either full. I think there was like one big, like fully developed one in there. And I think I saw 2 of the like halfway clickers or whatever you want to call them.
They have names, but I don't remember anything other than clicker.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think they were just stages.
Now, they got them, if you go in and you look to the right, they do have the poster on the wall with the different...
I think it's just stages. I think it's like stage 1, 2, 3, 4 or something like that.
Yeah, the chloro whatever.
That's right.
Because that's the fungus.
They're cordyceps.
Yeah, that's the fungus.
Is this... Yeah. Because they're real fungus.
But now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, honestly, I probably should have flipped this one on Monsters.
Yeah.
Probably should have went...
I can see that. Oh, dear. So... My 1 and 2.
Might as well just say them both.
Yes. Universal Monsters and Darkest Deal, actually.
Okay.
So, Universal Monsters, we've already talked about that.
You must have got a different deal than I did.
My Darkest Deal, everyone was in there, everyone was doing awesome, and everyone was into it, and it was great.
So you got banished to the Shadow Realms,
Yeah.
and
was
I
great.
got Battle City.
Yes.
Is that with Seto Kaiba's like half brother and his thing?
Sure.
Battle City?
I don't remember. I didn't
I don't
watch
know.
that far. No, but Darkest Deal, it was actually really, really good. The actors were great. The one of the devils was just like, as he was getting back into his hole, he's like, and I'm like, me.
Well, that was that again.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh,
Well, it's maybe the same guy
it could be. Who you never know.
or gal, I guess. I wouldn't know.
Yeah, true. Don't know their pronouns. So, but that was fantastic. Also, it stole Mary Kate's voice. We don't know how, but after the guy with the trumpet pops out,
That wasn't there.
Oh gosh, it was the funniest thing in all of the houses. It killed me.
Now, it had a nice facade. I will say that the facade
Yes.
you walked into was entertaining.
That was really good too. But there's a guy. He's just holding a trumpet. He's not even holding it like to play it. He's just holding it, and he pops out and then goes back in. But when he pops out, he goes wee. And for some reason, after that wee, she lost her voice and could not talk almost the rest of the night.
It's got Ursula.
Yeah, that's what we said. The trumpet Ursula her voice. But yeah, all the actors were really into it. They were doing amazing. And it was, I don't know, even though most of it was redone, or reused set pieces, they used them in a way that it was fitting. I really liked it.
So that was one.
That and Monsters.
Okay.
Because I can't decide. If Quasimodo had been there, it probably would be number one. But it was nice, but it wasn't great.
So by process of elimination, that means mine. I don't know why I'm flipping this over. Stranger Things 4. It sounds like I went through it when it was pretty much firing on all cylinders. You did not. So once again, this is a good example of going through a house while it's firing on all cylinders versus kind of putting along. Like my Darkest Deal.
Yeah.
Darkest Deal. Don't know why I can't remember that one. But it's just very much like you're, put on my VR headset and I'm going to walk through Stranger Things Season 4. Except, I will say this, so this is going to be a spoiler. When I'm done, I'll do the hand thing again if you don't want to know.
Oh, at the very, very end?
No, because that happened. But yes, I'll do. So spoiler, I'll do this when we're done talking about it.
Spoiler warning.
There's no Russia in it at all.
No.
It's all just focused on basically Eddie. Because they're like, everybody loves him.
Yes.
Make the money while we can. Money.
Yeah.
Right?
You won't be the next
Mr.
season.
Krabs. So it's just focused on those guys. No Hopper.
The kids, yeah.
None of that.
And they don't even talk about,
Hopper
California.
Yeah.
Even.
None of it. You walk in to the part where the cheerleader goes to Eddie's to buy.
Chrissy.
Yeah, Chrissy was by pot, wasn't
Chrissy,
it?
wake up.
And then you see from the outside of the trailer the shadow go up and start contorting, and then you go in and there's an Eddie and he's freaking out, and there's this contorted cheerleader up there. And then basically you're just following Eddie the whole time.
Eddie or Max.
And up to the point where you kind of go into the Vecna world there with his house and everything, and you kind of follow Max.
You also thought
the stage was neat. I wish I kind of got stopped in that area because I wanted to just kind of look for a little bit. Everyone was rocking out when we were in there.
Yeah, same. Yeah, everybody was
horns.
tossing up the horns and headbanging. As you do.
The one thing I will say, disappointing with this one, I think they could have done a little better on the Max mannequin at the end, the contorted.
Yeah.
It was very janky.
Well, so was the Chrissy one, honestly.
The Chrissy one was better than the Max one.
Yeah.
And I felt like they should have put more effort into the Max one since it was literally a centerpiece of that entire thing. Mm-hmm. I did get stuck in this house also, where 1 and L fight.
Oh,
we got stuck there for 3 minutes. So we got to the point where 1 came out a couple times. You can see L, but she's still going through it. He comes out a couple times just boo. Then we left. When we were leaving, he's like, he's hiding back behind the corner. Trying to think, the Demogorgon at the end.
Yeah.
I didn't get that when I went through.
Oh.
He scared somebody like 10 in front of me. I'm like, all right, whatever made him scream, I'm going to see.
Yeah.
Not until another like 20 people behind me. So I don't know if maybe they were swapping at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went through, maybe in the Exorcist house or something, the one that exits right next to it, I could see, it was Demogorgon. He had, the platforms on. He was a big old boy. I think they're the same platforms that the Frankenstein's creature probably used. He was at the end of it.
I mean, it's honestly probably the same Demogorgon suit from a few years ago.
I'm sure it is, but I think they lifted it because I don't remember it being that tall.
Maybe.
I remember it being just a little taller than me, and this one was a good...
Oh, see, mine wasn't that tall, but...
No, this was a good probably 7 foot when I went through it. Anyway, is that it for spoilers for that house probably?
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil that house because someone might be like, oh my god, no, so...
Yeah.
Right, so that was it. We're done with spoilers. So that's our kind of our tier list this year, and like I said, a lot of this will depend on the time of day you go, if you go with a good group, if you go solo, if you yourself just having a bad day, you might not enjoy it as much.
If you're hot and gross and just
hot and
miserable.
Grumpy. But since you are fairly experienced for HHN, so if you want to see kind of like a tips and trick video or something, just let us know. We can do that pretty easy. I've got some tips and tricks for you. I've even got props. We can show props like my cup purse.
It's very handy, even ridiculous.
I'm one of the OGs, right? So I went in opening night of HHN last year, and they had basically it's a cup purse. I don't know what else. It's like a sling that you can put your cup in,
and nothing else.
And it was me, Ray, and Ham, and we're walking. And I'm like, that's dumb. Why am I going to pay $16 for that? I'm walking, drinking my drink, and about the second or third house in, I'm like, I'm done holding on to this. So I went and just bought it, put it in. You can use it as an armrest.
Mm-hmm. I did that
great. A lot of people tried to wait till the last minute after they were like, this is dumb. I just want to carry this. Where did you get yours? Basically got it when I walked through the gates. And then they were out for over half. It was probably about 60-70% of HHN. They were just out. So it looks dumb. People will make fun of you for it.
No, they won't this year.
Probably not this year. Ham still might.
No.
But...
Because he was the one who wore it.
See? Big brain in here. They got them again this year, but they do not look the same. It's that See You in the Fog generic one.
The cups are even different.
The cups are different. They have a screw-on dome top now, so just
and they also have a little handle, but only one side of the handle moves.
Yep, and it likes to leak a lot apparently, according to people in front and behind me. 2 different groups were saying that it leaks all the time.
I like our cups.
But anyway, if you want, let's re-rail that train here. If you want to see like a tips and tricks thing, just let us know. We can do that too. But I actually have a lot of tips and tricks. It'll save you a lot of headaches and a lot of money. So overall, given what you did, because you're going to be gone for basically half the event this year. Mm-hmm. I'm not, so I paid the little extra, got the multi-night ticket. You got a one-time ticket.
Yeah.
Based on that, and we've both agreed that this is kind of a down year for it so far. It might get better, but right now it's kind of a down year. Do you feel like it would warrant a multi-night ticket this year?
I do, because I like going through all the houses. And I wanted to see the scare zones a little better than I got to. There's just not enough time and one night. And I went on a Sunday even, and it was still so busy.
See, and I got through everything this year, and I'm kind of borderline on if it's worth a multi-night ticket or not. The biggest reason I got a multi-night ticket is because I got a friend that's coming in. Same one we did the Halloween house with last year. They're coming in, I'm going to go with them again, so I was going to have to buy 2 tickets regardless. So
I think you should go through Darkest Deal again. Just saying.
I mean, I will. They're going to get the fast pass, so I don't know. After I was told that, I was like, well, I probably should have just paid for the upgrade to begin with, and then I wouldn't have to wait in all these hot lines constantly. But you want information on that, that's a tips and trick video. So if you made it this far, let us know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are we way off or are we spot on? No, I don't know either. I mean, it's my opinion. If I go Wednesday, this list could completely change again. It's what HHN does.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys again next time. Bye.